Hi, thanks for joining us again on KLEW TV Homes. I'm Dan Stellman. At the time of this taping, it's been raining for like a week. Okay, so I don't want you to be thrown off by our topic today, because regardless of how much it's rained recently, we're still going to have an issue. We're going to talk about water-wise plantings and design, landscaping, and for that, we brought the pro, probably one of the most recognizable names in landscape architecture in the Quad Cities. Don Brigham. Thanks, Don, for being here.
You bet, Dan.
I really appreciate it, sincerely. If you were tossing out some statistics earlier, and I think that points out the issue very well. Can I trouble you to do that again?
Well, sure. Nationally, the statistics are that 60 to 70% of the water that a homeowner pays for and gets piped to their house goes for the landscape. You know, the rest of it is for showers, washing machine, etc. Around here, if you're on LOID, you're not going to be drinking that, so almost all of that water is going for the landscape, but that's just the average. And so a great percentage of the water goes for what's out there in the ground. Of that, the majority of that water is spent on turf grass, just because it's the greediest, it's the thirstiest, etc., and also takes up the most square footage of a typical lot. And so when you're talking about getting into water-wise landscape, the first thing that should be looked at is just cutting back to what we call practical turf areas. And as I have mentioned before, and I didn't coin this, it's too good to be coming from my brain, but the idea is if the only time you walk over some lawn is when you mow it, then maybe that you question whether that lawn is necessary.
See, now that's a good rule of thumb, and one that's easy for me to remember, because there's quite a bit of mine that absolutely is up that same description. And we've all seen the kind of the tall, I guess what I used to call bear grass. It's like cattails. I'm sure I'm using the
botanical name, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But we've seen that. There's just a lot more to it. I mean, with regard to rocks, other plant materials, I'm sure, but give us an idea where we can kind of look for that. Yeah,
well, I'm really not an advocate of cutting back and just eliminating the turf and putting in the rock. You see a whole lot of this around the valley now, and that doesn't appeal to a lot of people, and I think it almost gives water-wise landscape a bad name, as they're thinking Albuquerque or Phoenix, where it's much, well, not much more of an issue, but it's been there longer. First thing to look at is just switching to a different type of turf grass. Typically, Kentucky bluegrass is what you get for seed mix or the sod, and that's the greediest, thirstiest grass there is. So you can go with tall or short fescues, and they're all going to look about the same. I need to put in a plug here, or Phil Shin from the city is going to shoot me, but down at Modi Conservancy Park there by the Veterans Home, we're doing a demonstration, and so by this time next year, people in the valley will be able to go down there, and we've got about 2 acres that's going to be just different test parcels of different grasses, and then we're going to show what the water use is. You're going to be able to judge whether that's acceptable. I mean, there's some things like buffalo grass, which is from Cheyenne area, the Great Plains, and personally I'm not a fan of it. It might be green by this time of year, but 2 months ago it looked bad, dead, and people can't accept that. That's a different mindset. So
there is something to be said for us wanting green, because there's like zoysia, that kind of thing that people have tried, and it's dormant for so much of the time that it is unacceptable. Look, we're starting to run out of time on this episode. Do you mind hanging around and doing another one? I think there's we
can pursue that. Sure.
More water-wise ground that we can cover. Now, I'll tell you, Don's an expert at this, and you can see the rerunning of these interviews on our website, klewtvhomes.com, and refer back to them. Don, thanks for being here.
You bet, Dan.
Appreciate it.